That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Day Shift, the directorial debut of J.J. Perry, which premieres on Netflix August 12th, 2022.
Its directorial debut?
Debut of the stuntman J.J. Perry, who's worked on the John Wick franchise. This production is thick with John Wick. With thick John Wick alums, including the composer Tyler Bates, and the screenplay was written by Taylor Tice and Shay Hatten. Shay Hatten has written John Wick 3 through 5, which, not all of those have been made, I guess, and a couple of the Army of the Dead films.
Okay, the star of this movie is Jamie Foxx. He's playing someone named...
Bud Jablonski.
Okay, Bud is a vampire hunter. Mm. He lives in the valley, specifically I think Reseda or Northridge, I'm not sure, but he's in the valley like Los Angeles. There's a union for vampire hunters, but Jamie Foxx has been kicked out of it because he doesn't follow the rules. Yet he still works as a vampire hunter. I have a lot of questions about that, which we can get into, because his money's not right.
He works as a pool guy, but moonlights as a vampire hunter.
Right. But the money's important because his ex-wife, played by Meagan Good,
Jocelyn,
and his daughter,
Paige, played by Zion Broadnax.
Meagan Good's threatening to have the two of them move to Florida if he can come up with the money to pay for the daughter's tuition and her braces, which it seemed like it totaled like $16,000 or something like that. And she doesn't tell him this until like the week before, so...
And threatening ever so mildly is just like, we gotta move.
It seems like they have a good relationship. She's just fed up with him never being around and not being financially responsible, I suppose. So, of course, Jamie doesn't want that. So, he goes to... Oh, so it's important to know that the vampire hunters who are part of the union, they make money by selling the vampire's teeth. Mm-hmm. Again, we can talk about it. But because Jamie's not part of the union, he has to sell the vampire's teeth. So the vampires he kills, he removes the teeth. He has to sell them to like some black market person.
Peter Stormare.
Who's only giving him like a fifth of the price, which is not enough. So instead of Jamie again, the money's weird because he doesn't have a credit card he can put shit on. I don't know. But instead of doing that, he tries to get back into the union with the help of his good friend, played by Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. Big John Elliott.
Snoop Dogg.
Actually, didn't they say his name is Big John Dante Elliott?
Yeah, well, his legal name is like John Dante Elliott or something. Snoop is a well-respected vampire hunter in the union. So Snoop visits Jamie and says, okay, you're my good friend, I owe you one, so I'm going to take you there in my good name and see if we can get you back in, and it works. However, the union president is fed up with Jamie. We can talk about that too. But he says, I'll let you back in under one condition, that you have a union representative with you at all times. And that rep is played by Dave Franco. Mm-hmm. And the reason the union president wants that is he wants someone to witness Jamie breaking the rules one more time so he can like ban him for real this time. Mm-hmm. So the bulk of the film is Jamie and Dave out here killing vampires so that they can collect this, or Jamie can collect this money.
Make bank, yeah.
But, of course, there has to be a villain. There is a female vampire.
Audrey, played by Karla Souza, who we just saw in There Are No Saints.
Oh, I don't remember. She plays a realtor, and her plan is she wants to create a mecca for vampires in the valley.
Vampire Valley.
And she has bad intentions because she is recalling a time when humans used to worship vampires as gods. So that's basically what she's trying to do.
She's trying to make America great again.
Oh my God. So anyway, the way that Jamie and this female vampire get tied up is the opening of the film is Jamie hunting a vampire, and he kills this vampire, and it turns out to be the realtor's daughter. Mm-hmm. So she's mad. So she kidnaps Meagan Good and the daughter. Mm-hmm. So it turns from Jamie just trying to kill vampires to make money to now he has to go save his ex-wife and child. Mm-hmm. Of course he does. The end.
And also, sure.
I mean, the only thing I didn't mention really is that Meagan Good, like, never knew that he was a vampire hunter, which was a part. What did we just watch?
Opera Secret Headquarters.
With a very similar plotline for the dad, which is like he has this really unique job that takes him away from his family, which causes him to lose his wife and child, basically, and never thinks to. Like, if it means that much to you, why wouldn't you just reveal all?
Right. The marriage is dissolved because of his savior duties. It's also worth noting that Audrey has developed and is mass producing a type of sunscreen that allows vampires to be daywalkers.
I thought this movie was okay. I think for how silly the story is and for how many opportunities were missed to do something really interesting, this thing needed to be funny as hell. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I don't even think it's, it's gonna, I guess, a comedy action movie, but it's lightly humorous. And that's mainly because of Jamie Foxx being a funny person.
Yes.
But the comedy writing is not there.
It definitely is not. And I think that some great fight choreography, as you would expect from a filmmaker who started out or is a notable stuntman. But, by the time we get to the denouement, you get a little tired of the fighting because it's just that's all there is. And what we really need here is to, punch up the story. Let's build this world. I want to know more about these different breeds of vampires and what that all means. The Union, which feels kind of like a Men in Black sort of ripoff. I feel like that would have been better. The more we got into that world, the better.
Well, let's talk about that because I think that's super interesting that there's this union of vampire hunters, but then this concept of the money, I don't understand because and then you also mentioned there are different classes of vampires from different regions. So it seems like this vampire issue is affecting the entire planet. Mm-hmm. So who's paying for these teeth? Like, is it like the government's encouraging people to kill vampires, which is what I'm assuming they're doing?
And they get more money for the older the vampire is because they have more power.
Well, they don't. But right.
I'm assuming
that, which makes sense. But the film doesn't explain like why they're getting different prices. Because initially it sounds like, oh, there are collectors out there, and the reason we thought that is because it makes sense that the union, which is sponsored by the government, is giving money, like you said, for different kind of vampires, more money because maybe they're more dangerous. But then you have this black market person buying teeth, which I'm assuming they're buying them
and then selling them to the union.
Selling them to the union through some other means and making up the difference.
So,
but it just seems like kind of elaborate, and
which means the union is like collecting aluminum cans and selling it.
Yeah, so it's like a recycling center situation. I just thought that was very interesting, and that could have. Because we also there's a side plot of Dave Franco hating his job because of his coworker Carol, I think her name is.
Who steals his yogurt, yeah.
I feel like this could have, if it were better written in the comedy direction, this could have been like a satire on like office politics maybe.
Sure.
And how like Jamie Foxx hates his boss. But then it's made more funny because his job is to kill vampires, but that's secondary to he hates his boss and his coworkers.
Right.
Like that could have been a great opportunity. Or like you said, there is, I think, a pretty effective scene where Dave Franco's providing a lot of exposition about the different vampires. Mm-hmm. But it works well because he's like never been on the field and Jamie Foxx is testing him. So I thought that was well written. But then hearing him talk about all these vampires, I was like, oh, well, that's more interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to know about these.
But then after he gets turned, he gets decapitated, but he's one of these
Dave Franco gets turned.
One of these new special vampires that don't die from decapitation and can reattach their heads to their bodies. It's at that point I'm like, oh, he's supposed to be like Renfield from Dracula.
Yeah, I wanted to better understand, like Dave Franco gets turned, but then he's still a good guy. He wants to help Jamie. So he has some awareness that he doesn't want to harm Jamie. There's also another vampire who helps Jamie. Heather, she works for the realtor. Uh-huh. But she says she doesn't like her boss. Again, this could have been a play on office politics. So she's choosing to help Jamie defeat her. So I think with all these different types of vampires, like I just wanted to know more about them.
Heather also had nothing to do, who's, I guess, pretending to be a nurse. Natasha Lynn Bordizzo of The Voyeurs plays her. Yeah, and she, again, I needed to better understand. I felt, why are you turning against your boss? And ultimately, wouldn't you still eat the people you're saving here? Jamie Foxx, who's bedizened in Hawaiian shirts, and is the first time I've ever seen somebody that I thought, oh, those look good on him.
I thought Jamie looked good.
I think he's the best part.
He's keeping his hair black. That thing is shellacked down. Whoever does it, they're doing a fine job, but it's very obvious that that is not his hair on the screen.
And if you look at the poster art for this and Project Power, which is also a Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx, the poster art's very similar except for like night and day. Meagan Good has nothing to do.
No, and the styling of her character is interesting because when we're first introduced to her, she is laying tile in the foyer and she's fully glammed up like hair and makeup. And then she's wearing like nude colored like fabletics that look kind of dusty. And then when she gets kidnapped, she's wearing jeans and also like a nude as in like her skin tone nude, colored tank top again. Very interesting clothing choices for this character.
And she gets tossed around.
Wow. Okay, can I just start my notes? The opening scene is Jamie cleaning a pool, and then it's clear that he's really there to kill a vampire, and it's this what looks like, or it is an old lady vampire. I thought that was a really good start. The fight choreography is great. I guess the person doing the fighting is very bendy, and I'm assuming it's also a lot of CGI, but I thought it looked really cool.
That was a good opening. Again, well choreographed fight sequences.
Snoop Dogg is always fun to see, and when we're first introduced to him because he's dressed like a cowboy, and then he just looks so faded, and then we see that like all these ladies like him, like they're saying "call me." Again, it's not necessarily like good comedy writing. It's just funny seeing Snoop Dogg on screen.
I think it's more of good casting for some of those. I wanted him to be more prominent, like in Ernst Dickerson's Bones.
Oh, sure.
Do you remember that?
Yes. The film looks nice. It's well shot. It looks more expensive than I expected, and money was spent on the music.
Mm-hmm. Opens with California
Love.
Isn't
there's some Ice Cube in there.
A Wu-Tang Clan song.
There's some Wu-Tang in there, and then I think Snoop recorded a song specifically for this film, which plays during the end credits. But I thought the music was good. I think Jamie's relationship with his daughter is sweet. Mm-hmm. I think that little girl, her acting was fine. Mm-hmm. Like she was cute on screen. There is a scene though where he's driving / being chased by some vampires. And he has his daughter in the car, and he doesn't want her to know what's happening. So he makes her put on her headphones, and she's playing Mario Kart while he's driving. I thought that was a little silly, but...
Well, yeah, because like how checked out is she?
That's what I was thinking. Like, this girl is in the zone, and she doesn't realize that this car is about to flip over.
And immediately, and you yanked her out of her birthday party early.
So Meagan, I was a little confused if the realtor vampire is looking for Meagan Good. I think it's weird that we see Meagan Good with the realtor's like business card, because another plot point is that Meagan Good's saying she's going to move to Florida and in the process sell her house. Mm-hmm. So did Meagan Good call the realtor and that's how she knew that was Jamie Foxx's ex-wife? Or
I don't know. And also, like, if you have to sell your house, you can't just move to Florida. So he should have a little more time to get the money to help pay for his daughter's bullshit.
Yeah. A fun scene is when Snoop comes back to help Jamie, because of course in the end when he's fighting the realtor in her lair, he's getting his ass whooped. So Snoop shows up just at the right time, dresses his cowboy self with his trench coat, and he has like a machine gun that says Big Bertha. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a fun scene. Mm-hmm. But my last note is, yes, like you said, by the end the fighting became a little tedious, and then I think because the realtor has like super vampire powers, they have to show her moving very quickly, and I didn't think that CGI was the best. But there's another scene earlier where there are two vampire fighters who are like brothers,
the Nazarian brothers,
who have an interesting relationship, but because this movie is rated TVMA, so they could have pushed it a lot further. Mm-hmm. It just feels kind of tepid, and
tepid's a good word for it.
Yeah.
By the end, I think for the first half of it, I didn't mind where it was going. It does look really good. It was shot by Toby Oliver who was the cinematographer on Get Out. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
I did think that movie was fun.
And also direct like Fantasy Island. But even that, that movie didn't look terrible. It just was.
Yeah.
And pun intended, the stakes just needed to be higher for Jamie Foxx's character and needing to get this money, because the whole scheme is revolving around that. And I needed to understand how he didn't have either a line of credit, couldn't go to the bank to get a loan to get that kind of sum of money.
Well, I don't mind none of that being explained if it were funny. Like, this needed to be like, holy shit, I can't stop laughing. There were no moments where I was like, I had a hearty laugh. It was just kind of silly.
Sure, and you know, Californian vampires like the Lost Boys, it reminded me of all kinds of things like that, most especially because of the specific locale, Fright Night, at least in the remake, which was Las Vegas with Colin Farrell. I don't remember, is Chris Sarandon in the 85 version, I don't remember if that's also Las Vegas. But
Yes, I don't recall.
But anyway, that is, I liked that mechanism, but it reminded me of all kinds of other things. Anything like the aforementioned Dracula to Daybreakers, or of course Blade.
As an action film, I think it works. As a vampire film, not so much. And as a comedy, it's very light. I can see people liking this movie.
It needed better villains. I think Audrey's a very kind of weak villain. I don't think she
agree.
really had any presence. And then she has this handyman, Klaus, played by Oliver Masucci.
Oh, that's right.
Who played Anton Vogel in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, somewhere in there, but also is a really great performance as Rainer Werner Fassbinder in Enfant Terrible from 2020. But he's completely wasted, has absolutely nothing to do.
If you have Netflix, I would check it out. What would you give this film?
I think 2.5 is fair.
I would give it 2.5, which means I think it's okay. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.